It's taken 10 years, more than 10,000 tons of steel and hundreds of millions of dollars, all leading up to this moment, the opening of the Louvre Abu Dhabi in November 2017. A landmark event marking the beginning of a new chapter, not only for the Louvre, but also Abu Dhabi as a cultural hub. Just weeks after the first visitors roamed the galleries under the dome, I caught up with the UAE's top diplomat, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed, to find out how the new museum cements the country's growing influence in the world.
I think the opening of this museum has been a very bad day for extremists. Luckily enough, for many of us, it's been a wonderful day.
It was envisioned, as I understand it, by the then President, Jacques Chirac, as a means to fight extremism with art after what was then September the 11th and the attacks. Given that the museum has opened at a time of significant regional instability, is that original vision even more important than ever?
Unless we are really ready in this part of the world in addressing extremists, their ideology, their hate, and making sculptures like the Louvre. This museum is not very different than the UAE. I'm blessed to be raised in a country which have been tolerant, have been open, have been modern, but also which has managed to give the people of this region, give the countries and the leaders of this region some hope and a different path forward. Listening to President Macron describing what kind of a soft instrument our relationship with France could create in the region in terms of a positive ripple effect, I think made me very proud. You would look at our relationship with France historically, and it was about political or military cooperation or investments. This is a project that's going to go on for at least one more generation. And it will touch all Emiratis. These are kind of projects that not only would enhance a government-to-government relationship, but a people-to-people's relationship, which I think is always far more important. This was found in the UAE from a monastery in one of the islands called Sir Benyas.
This was a Christian monastery?
Yes. People came and felt comfortable in experiencing, first of all, the place, but also in worshipping in the way they found fit.
This is described as a universal museum. What does it mean to have a universal museum in this neighborhood to you?
Most of my generation were first of their generation to go to school. That's true. This is a country which did not have much resources. For me, who is 45 years old, I've seen how the UAE looked like in the last few decades. But I've also seen how people were welcoming others.
And as a foreign minister, how important is this soft power project, as it were, in your diplomatic toolkit?
I think many people who know the UAE and know the UAE for long enough, like you, do not see this as a surprise. See this as part of the jigsaw puzzle that you are seeing coming up in the Emirates. Just looking at our new cabinet with 9 females in it, having the youngest minister, and obviously in charge of youth. I think all these things are part of what we are trying to aim here. It's true, it's about youth, about getting the youth involved, but it's also about preserving and protecting and celebrating our culture, celebrating our values, and moving forward with it.
I've just asked you whether you have a favourite piece, and Your Highness, you said let's start with the building. You are not the first person to have said that to me since this museum opened, because it is an artwork in and of itself.
Yes. And I think what's also important to say that my second best piece, or probably my first best piece, are the people who work here.
This is part of a multi-billion-dollar project here in this part of Abu Dhabi, what's known as the Saadiyat Cultural District. With this now open, how do you describe the vision that this fits into going forward?
Adding more reasons to come to the Emirates, to explore why we've managed to be far less dependent on oil, putting such a huge objective of being a country that can go even beyond oil when it comes to its development. That's not an easy task. In a few years, we are going to have even more cultural centers in the Emirates. But in 2020, we are going to have the first expo in a Muslim country. And that's a way of the world recognizing the Emirates for what we've accomplished. This is only a beginning of even a longer voyage for Abu Dhabi to aim at what Sheikh Zayed said, that we are aiming to celebrate the last barrel of oil that we will export. So for me, in one way, it's shocking that how fast the UAE has developed, but it's less shocking in terms of people haven't changed much. Their views of looking for new ideas and new challenges and new friends is something that is quite part of our culture.